Hello friends, and welcome back to Extraordinary Driver. Today we're going to see if Blueberry Jay has still got it. The first time we saw Jay was way back in 2019, and now he's back to Dirt Rally 2.0 and ready to make a statement. But that's enough chit chat. Today, Jay's going to try to keep up with his old record. You know what, Bob? I saw him earlier and he was telling me he was feeling a tad nervous. That's right, Jerry. He told me the same thing. He hasn't been here in so long, and the way his practice runs were going on the Richard Burns rally circuit have not helped with his confidence levels at all. Anyways, everyone here in the studio, and I'm sure all the lovely folks at home, are wishing him the best of luck. Today, Jay will be in Leszno County in Poland, and he'll be driving his classic Volkswagen Golf GTI with a neck-breaking 195 brake horsepower in the 5-speed manual, and I hope you guys are just as excited as I am. And Blueberry Jay is off to an amazing start and shifts into first. Okay folks, it looks like something is wrong with the car. It for some reason won't shift out of first gear. They're gonna have to take a look at that. Good thing it's still early in the day, giving them a little bit of time to sort it out. And we're back. Looks like they have got the problem fixed, and Blueberry Jay has a time of 9:23.411 to try and beat. And he jumps the start. Okay. It looks like he's ready to give it a proper go. We're looking to match or beat a time of 9:23.411. And oh my goodness, it happens again. Jay was nervous enough to begin with, but who would have guessed his day was gonna go like this? A perfect launch, and his car's working as it should. And thanks to some new technology, you folks at home can see the ghost of his previous best time pulling away as Jay comes incredibly close to hitting 100 miles per hour over those jumps. And Jay goes wide on the first turn with his car bouncing off the bank, but nothing too severe as there seems to be no damage to the car, and he continues on his merry way. Unfortunately, his ghost seems to have disappeared. You can just barely see it in the distance as Jay gets a bit squirrely on those curves, slowing down to regain control. So Jerry, what do you think must be going through Jay's head right now? Well Bob, the day has not gotten off to a great start, and that's putting it lightly. And these rally drivers can tell when they're off by even 1 second, even half a second. Add that to the challenges they've had to overcome, he must be incredibly stressed and overwhelmed, feeling like all the weight is resting on his shoulders. Well Jerry, Jay is very talented as well as persistent, so we might be able to pull it together and make it work. And it looks like Jay is 6.219 seconds slower than his best. It's a respectable time, but he does have his work cut out for him. And Jay slows down way too early for that turn, looking like he's just taking a stroll through the park. And now Jay's looking confused. Understandably, he might still be frazzled, but he really needs to pay close attention to his co-driver and focus on the here and now. And the right passenger side just grazing that hay bale as he once more slows down too much for an easy right turn. Now this is a section of track where drivers throw caution to the wind more than they usually do, but I'm looking at Jay and this is not his normal driving style. I see him hesitating a lot and slowing down when he shouldn't. Maybe I spoke too soon as Jay hits 105 miles per hour and goes flying off the bank and somehow regains control and wastes no time getting back on the track and back up to speed. At this point, Jay is just over 16 seconds slower than his PB. If I'm completely honest, I feel like Jay has completely phoned it in. He still has time to prove me wrong, and by golly, I sure hope he does. 29 seconds behind his normal best, but it looks like Jay is back on the horse, almost redlining 5th gear. Jay actually improved on the second to last section and only has one more to go before reaching the finish line, and he gets a little too ambitious and slides right into the tree. Thankfully, it's just a minor hiccup as he looks determined to finish this rally. A little bit of sliding, but he remains unfazed and crosses the finish line with a time of 10:03.517, a whole 40 seconds slower than his PB, and you can tell that he's very disappointed. You can't help but feel for Jay, and I can only hope the next rally goes better for him. The next stage will be Comienzo de Belrú in Ribadell, Spain, where his personal best is a time of 9:13.288. Jay has driven on this track plenty of times and has described the stage as one of his favorites. And talking to him a bit earlier, Jay said, and I quote, "I'm leaving it all on the track today. I'm either leaving with a new record or not leaving at all," end quote. We have some footage from an earlier run. He had a perfect launch and looks confident. He takes a first turn perfectly. Jay scratches the Sherwin-Williams on the guardrail, and then his tire gets up on the curb, and that's all it took. Those two very minor mistakes was all it took to set him back far enough to where the chances of catching up are slim to none. Jay continues to push himself, but regardless, he ends up crossing the finish line with a time of 9:29.889, almost 17 seconds slower. Blueberry Jay has a very okay start, but quickly picks up the speed and takes the first turn at 55 miles per hour, which on screen might not seem that fast, but one slight mistake and it's straight into the guardrail. Again, another small scratch to the Sherwin-Williams, but this time doesn't get up on the curb. Once again, you can see his ghost creating some distance, but Jay begins closing the gap, picking up speed through the curves, coming mere inches from the guardrail. Barely even touching the brakes as he drives in between the homes and sliding the bends, really giving the spectators a good show. Almost hits the speed limit sign, hugging the guardrail, setting himself up for the next turn while closing the gap, and he somehow maintains his speed while going around the curve. The curve, which mind you, has no guardrail. That just goes to show you his level of determination to really make a name for himself. Jay continues hugging the left line, and oh, thank goodness for that guardrail. That could have turned real ugly real fast, but he seems unfazed and he refuses to let up on the accelerator, the madman. And he gets incredibly close to those blocks we call career enders. Driving like that makes you wonder if he'll leave his mark on the record books or in his pants. And Jay is 0.856 thousandths of a second faster than his PB, so now we can confirm Jay has the skill and is more than capable of beating his record. What he's got to do now is remain focused, because with only 1 second difference, this could still go either way. He should be fine as long as he's able to stay on the fine line between pushing himself to the limit and not pushing himself past the limit. It's crazy to think that just the other day, Jay and his team were having transmission problems, but are now on pace to breaking records. After his run in Poland, Jay told me it might be time to retire, because if he couldn't keep up with his old records, then how could he possibly imagine having a shot against the best drivers in the world? Myself, like a lot of folks, would hate to see him leave, so I hope this stage can change his mind. Jay is beautifully weaving in and out of curves, making it look majestic, setting himself up perfectly to go as fast as possible while making sure he doesn't go off the road. And now he is over 2 seconds faster than his personal best. In this section that's coming up, it is extremely important to be tuned in with your co-driver. As you can see, there's enough trees on the side of the road that you'll be quickly switching from driving on brightly lit to shaded and somewhat dark stretches of road, making it easy to misjudge an upcoming turn. Here we see Jay showing us exactly how it's done. I just hope Jay doesn't lose his cool and push himself too much, because any sort of finish is way better than not finishing at all. You should tell that to my wife. Now's not the time, Jerry. And what is this? I didn't see a single mistake in that whole section, and yet Jay has fallen behind his PB. It looks like we might have a head-to-head race on our hands. What I have trouble understanding is where did those 2 seconds go? Blueberry Jay was 2 whole seconds faster, made no mistakes, and still fell behind. This has got to be disheartening for the team, but it is still far from over. Jay has fallen behind by half a second. This can only end in one of 2 ways, either a fantastic photo finish or a major disappointment. Looks like Jay has managed to close the gap. Maybe Jay got too comfortable while his PB was really pushing himself to the very limit. PB is still ahead and actually increasing the gap. If he continues like this, I don't see how Jay is going to be able to catch up. So far, we've only seen flawless driving from PB, and it looks like I spoke too soon as PB goes off the road and Blueberry Jay uses this as an opportunity to capitalize and take the lead. A hairpin coming up and Blueberry Jay performs the most beautiful drift, and in the blink of an eye is back on the accelerator, wasting no time with no wheel spin, only speed. Jay's now 2.5 seconds faster than PB. Looking at the record books, it looks like finally perfecting that hairpin landed Jay his best time on that section. It looks like Jay is taking these turns a lot more carefully, and who can blame him? After such an adrenaline-filled couple of minutes, he is probably in shock. If it feels like it went by in the blink of an eye for us, it must have been nothing more than a blur for Jay. But he needs to snap out of it before PB catches up to him again. There's a somewhat severe turn coming up, and Jay power slides through it like it's nothing. Slightly goes off the road, but gets back on track with little to no trouble. Another not so severe turn that he doesn't even have to think about. Based on past performances, these last few sections have always been his best, and with jaw-dropping speed as the trees seem to be passing by at light speed. At this point, as long as he doesn't make any major mistakes, he has got it in the bag. And Jay is 4.340 seconds faster than PB, and that look of concentration on his face tells me everything I need to know. I have the utmost confidence that this race is gonna be the one. And wow! Jay actually sped up just before the turn. In all my years, I have seen drivers slow down, or if they're crazy, they will maintain speed, but I've never seen someone speed up before the turn. The madman. Perfect entry and an okay exit, but there is no time to waste, so he's on to the next. And Jay gets incredibly close to those rocks, and he sees completely unbothered. It either hasn't registered how close he came to DNFing, or he had it all calculated down to the exact millimeter. Measure twice, cut once is what I always say. And we're coming up to the end of this section, and Jay is over 3 seconds faster than PB. It makes you wonder how much faster he could have been had he been able to keep up the pace from beginning to end, not because of a skill issue, but mechanical issues that were out of his control. So putting it lightly, the first 2 days got off to a rough start. Didn't get his bearings until the third and last day of the event, but gee golly, what a show it has been. It feels like such an understatement, but watching Jay overcome these trials and tribulations, both on and off the track, has been very impressive and a roller coaster of emotions. Talking about being impressed, if you wonderful folks at home have been impressed as much as I have, we would greatly appreciate it if you could leave a like and subscribe. But let me stop wasting your time and let's get back to this adrenaline pumping rally. And we come back to CJ driving at breakneck speeds, holding onto the steering wheel and shifter for dear life as he finishes this section half a second faster than PB. Could it be that PB makes an appearance after we considered him to be down and out? And there he is. Stay glued to your seats, folks, because this is gonna come down to the wire. We may be on the last section of the stage, but this is far from over. Jay closed the gap, but he goes off the road, almost goes flying off the side of the mountain. Thankfully, he saves it, but PB takes the lead. Jay is not ready to give up as he begins closing the gap once more, and he nicks the rock on the inside, sending him careening off the road and just barely misses all those trees. Now Jay is swerving to get rid of the post stuck to the front of his car, and what I assume is Cope laughing, knowing he needs a miracle to save this run. And there's the miracle he needed. PB was serving a penalty, and that's all the motivation Jay needed to not give up. Jay only needs 2 more turns before he reaches the finish line. He handles the first one perfectly. It all comes down to milliseconds, which will determine the victor right here, right now, as Jay crosses the finish line with a time of 9:09.211, destroying the previous record of 9:13.288, improving on it by a whopping 4 seconds. A major congratulations to Blueberry Jay on a well-deserved victory, and a huge thank you to everyone watching from home. You're the ones we do this for, and we hope you enjoyed it. And we hope you'll join us next time, and until then, have a nice day, a good night, have fun, and love life.